Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're jumping into one of the biggest, most exciting shifts happening in modern medicine, the rise of a really powerful type of AI called deep learning. We're going to break down how this technology is starting to change, well, pretty much everything, from how we diagnose diseases all the way to what happens in the operating room.
So, the massive opportunity here, and also the challenge, it all starts with this one number 150 exabytes. That's how much healthcare data gets generated in the US alone. And get this, it's growing by 48% every single year. We are talking about a mind boggling flood of information. This explosion of data leads to a pretty profound question. What if we could actually learn from all of it? I mean, just imagine being able to tap into the collective wisdom of every single diagnosis, every treatment, and every patient outcome that's ever been recorded. That's the incredible promise of deep learning. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with that data explosion. Then we'll get into how deep learning actually works. From there, we'll see how it can analyze medical images and patient records. We'll touch on some cool stuff with robotics and genetics, and then wrap up with what this all means for the future of being a doctor. So first up, let's dig into this idea of a vast, untapped library of medical wisdom. Most of this information, it's all stored in something called electronic health records, or EHRs for short. To really get your head around the scale, think about this. A single, large EHR system can hold the equivalent of 200,000 years of doctor wisdom and an absolutely stunning 100 million years of patient outcome data. All of that experience, all that knowledge has just been sitting there, pretty much locked away and inaccessible. Until now. So how in the world do we unlock all that wisdom? Well, that brings us to how deep learning works. And really, in a nutshell, it's about teaching a machine to think about all this complex medical data in a completely new way. To see what makes deep learning so special, let's just compare it to the older, traditional machine learning. With the old way, you had human experts who had to painstakingly, feature by feature, tell the computer what to look for. Deep learning, it's totally different. You basically just feed it the raw data, and it figures out the important patterns all on its own. This whole process has a name, representation learning, and it works in layers. So imagine you show it an image. The very first layer might just learn to see simple things, like edges. Then the next layer combines those edges to see basic shapes. And the layer after that puts those shapes together to see more complex objects, and so on. The amazing part is that it learns this entire hierarchy completely by itself. And this diagram here, it shows that process in action. This is for a model called a convolutional neural network, or CNN, which is just perfect for images. So on the left, you've got the raw pixels going in. As they move through the network's layers, the AI learns to pick out features like edges and shapes, getting more complex as it goes. And then, boom, the final layers classify all that information to make a decision, saying something like benign or malignant. Okay, so now that we've got the basic idea, let's look at the first area where this is having an absolutely massive impact: medical imaging. This is where we get to an AI that can actually see. Medical imaging is really the perfect place to start. I mean, scans like this X-ray are just packed with complex visual patterns, which is exactly what deep learning models like CNNs are designed to analyze. It's a perfect match. And the results so far, they have been nothing short of remarkable. Study after study has shown these models reaching physician-level accuracy across a huge range of tasks. We're talking about diagnosing skin cancer just from pictures of moles, spotting diabetic eye disease from eye scans, finding lesions in mammograms, and even flagging critical blockages in brain scans where literally every second counts. But it is important to have a little reality check here. Most of these amazing studies, they happen in a sort of vacuum. The AI only ever sees the image. A real doctor, on the other hand, has the patient's entire medical history, their lab results, and, they can actually talk to them. That full clinical context is something most of these image-only AIs are missing right now. And you know what? That limitation perfectly sets up our next big challenge. To get that full context, the AI needs to understand the entire patient file. So now we move on to decoding our medical records and trying to tame that notoriously messy electronic health record. The biggest problem with EHR data is summed up perfectly by this quote: "Models that work at Hospital 1 don't work at Hospital 2. See, every hospital stores its data a little differently, which makes it incredibly difficult to pool all that information together and learn from it on a large scale. So the solution is a multi-step process. As this diagram kind of shows, the main goal is to take all that messy, unstructured data from different hospitals, standardize it into one common format, and then arrange it all into a single chronological timeline for each patient. Only then can an AI really start to understand a patient's entire medical journey. So let's just break that down real quick. First, you have to aggregate all the messy records from everywhere. Second, you standardize it all, mapping it to a common format. And third, you sequence it, creating that coherent patient timeline. This whole process is what creates the clean, powerful data set that the AI really needs to learn from. And why does this matter so much in the real world? Well, get a load of this number. In a typical 11-hour workday, doctors can spend up to 6 hours just on documentation in the EHR. An AI that could automate transcription and data entry? That would be a massive breakthrough, not just for efficiency, but for reducing doctor burnout and actually giving them more time back with their patients. Now, beyond just images and records, deep learning is pushing into even more advanced areas. So let's briefly check out two of the next big frontiers: robotics and genetics. So in the operating room, AI is being trained for robotic-assisted surgery. Using a really cool technique called reinforcement learning, the system can basically watch expert surgeons perform repetitive tasks, like suturing and tying knots, and then learn how to automate those super precise actions. This could make surgeries faster and a lot more consistent down the road. And then there's the other frontier: genetics. Our DNA, it contains the blueprint for our entire body, but its language is incredibly complex. So the big question is, can AI learn to read the secrets hidden deep inside our genome? This diagram shows you the basic idea. You've got raw genomic data being fed through a deep neural network, which then learns how to interpret it. The output can then power some incredible applications, like predicting your risk for certain diseases just from your genes, or helping scientists finally understand what specific genetic mutations actually do. So, where is all of this heading? Well, our final section here looks at the future of doctoring. And the key theme really isn't about replacing humans. It's about creating a powerful human-machine partnership. Think about it. An AI can analyze data at a scale no human ever could. It can flag a tiny little anomaly in a scan or find a super subtle pattern in a patient's history. But it's the doctor who provides the crucial context, the empathy, and of course, the final judgment. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. Will your next doctor be fully human, or will it be a partnership?